Hey folks, everything new under the sun. Rosh Hashanah 2022. It is coming September 25th. Let's talk about it for a second. So this is my keynote, my timeline of the return of the Lord. The way I kind of understand Bible prophecy as it stands right now, if you've been following my channel, you have seen this many, many times. And I am a pre-wrath person. I believe that the rapture happens before the wrath of God. I think really all Christians believe that the rapture happens before the wrath of God. The question just is, when does the wrath of God start? Does it start with the four horsemen of the apocalypse in Revelation 6? Or does it wait until the sixth seal, when the sun and the moon go dark? And then the great tribulation, is that the wrath of God, and the stuff prior to it was just the tribulation of man, or the tribulation of Satan on the world and of man's sin. Well, if you look at the chart, the green arrow there represents the rapture, which I think is somewhere, 2024, 2025, somewhere in there, the midpoint of the 7-year period, which kicks off the Great Tribulation. And that's that point at which the sun and the moon go dark as well. So if you're thinking about getting solar panels, note that, at least according to this timeline, solar panels will work right up until the rapture of the church, because the rapture of the church happens at the same time the sun and the moon go dark. So there you go. If you're thinking of investing in solar panels, they will work right up to the midpoint of the tribulation, in my understanding. So let's look at Rosh Hashanah, because it's a high watch period. Mark Bilton's all over this. There's a YouTube video that he put out about this. And the fall feasts are always high watch periods for rapture events, for eschatological events, Bible prophecy things, just things happening. Things seem to happen in the fall: economic collapse and war, etc. 1929 happened in, I think it was October. So these big events seem to happen in the fall period as people are off vacation, going back to work. And what's happening in the economy today? Well, we could be in for a real bumpy fall with the economy as war increases and other things. So Rosh Hashanah. So what is Rosh Hashanah? Let's talk about it, and then I'll tell you some interesting things about it. Let's see. Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the universe. This is from chabad.org, so a Jewish website. Birthday of the universe. The day God created Adam and Eve, and it's celebrated as the head of the Jewish year. So if we understand that Israel turned age 70 in 2018, and they're going to reach age 80, if you will, in 2028, that kind of lines up with that 2028 time period. Then you come back off 2028, and you come up with 2021. But and the 7-year period might start then. But of course, the 7-year period didn't start, right? I don't think it did. I think it's going to be obvious to everybody when it does start. So the question is, when is the start of it? And is the start of it based on the Jewish year? And of course, the Jewish year goes from September 2021 to September 2022. So if you will indulge me, the year 2021, if you will, the kickoff of that 7-year period through 2028 actually could kick off September 25th this year on the Jewish calendar. And I've talked about that before, but that's why it's interesting to look at that. And I may be wrong anyways with the year 2028. Maybe I'm a year off or something, but it could be happening soon. And it's interesting that Israel did turn age 70 in 2018, because it's appointed man 70 years to live, 70. But if by reason of strength 80 years, and I believe that's Psalm 90. I'll have to look that up, but I think it's Psalm 90 where it speaks of kind of that age range of man, and you extrapolate that to the age of Israel as a nation. So the day God created Adam and Eve, it's celebrated as the head of the Jewish New Year. It begins at sundown on the eve of Tishri 1, and this is important. It begins at sundown on the eve of Tishri 1, September 25th, and ends after nightfall, Tishri 2, September 22nd. So it's over a period of 2 days. The central observance of Rosh Hashanah is blowing the shofar, blowing the trumpet, you could say, on both mornings of the holiday, except on Shabbat, which is normally done in a synagogue as part of the day's services. Rosh Hashanah feasts traditionally include round challah bread studded with raisins and apples dipped in honey, as well as other foods to symbolize our wishes for a sweet year, it says. Matthew 24 is, of course, a well-known chapter in Bible prophecy. And the disciples are asking Jesus about the last days. As he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? So this is the key statement, the end of the world. We want to know, just like the disciples, when is the end of the world? What milestones, what markers are there for the end of the world? Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed, no man deceive you, that many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Do we hear of wars and rumors of wars right now? We absolutely do, but the end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. Now read this verse. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. What do the four horsemen of the apocalypse bring? They bring wars, rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, economic collapse, earthquakes, all these things. This is what the four horsemen of the apocalypse bring in the first half of that 7-year period. All these are the beginnings of sorrows, it says. Let's go down here to verse 29. And then it says, immediately after the tribulation. Notice that it doesn't say immediately after the great tribulation. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. So solar panels work up to verse 29 in Matthew 24. Now, that's kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? But that's the truth of it. The Lord will continue things on in terms of the seasons, the sun, the days, the rise and fall of the moon and such. He will continue it on until after the tribulation of those days, which I believe speak to the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. And the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and great glory. Where do we go in the rapture? We meet the Lord in the clouds. So in verse 30, the Son of Man is coming in the clouds with heaven and power and great glory. And he shall send angels with this great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather his elect from the four winds. So prior to, I would say, the trumpets for sure, because the trumpets are happening here, right? The seals are broken. The trumpet and the bowl judgments are coming. They shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth to the other. So this is the rapture event. And this comes after the sun and the moon are darkened. The rapture occurs. Jesus Christ comes in the clouds. And then the other judgments written of in Revelation 6, 7, 8, and onwards come to pass. Verse 6, I believe, in Revelation 6 is where it speaks of the sun and the moon going dark. And that's when we're out of there. Prior to that, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, I think we're here for that, folks. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. You look at the wickedness in the days of Noah, also in the days of Lot, the wickedness, the sinfulness, the homosexuality as kind of the outward indicator of the state of the world and the hearts of men. And that's what's going to happen in the last days. What's happening right now? All sorts of news about transgender surgery and just homosexuality and be who you want to be, not who God created you to be. This is the wickedness that is enveloping the state of man's minds in this world. Verse 36, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, not of the angels in heaven, but my Father only. So remember that verse, but of that day and hour knoweth no man. This is the great mystery that everybody reads and they don't understand it. What does it mean? Is there maybe a festival that has something to do with that? Let's read it, and I think it's fascinating. Now, the text is small, but it says, let's see, I wonder if I can make this bigger, or is that going to make it go away? That's probably better. The coming of the new moon was absolutely essential to the structure of religious life. For God commanded the observances of certain days as Moedim. Moedim means appointed times, scheduled times. When you make a mark on your calendar for your dentist appointment, it's a Moedim, it's a scheduled time. God did the same for historical events in Israel, and they marked these appointed times every year. These Moedim were also known as Hagim festivals. Each festival had a specific time it was observed. For example, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, falls on the 10th day of the 7th month of Tishri. If the Sanhedrin started the new month on the incorrect day, all of Israel could find themselves observing the fast on the day before or after God had specified the feasting on the actual 10th day. Therefore, the setting of each festival depended upon a decree that came from the Sanhedrin. Is there any news about the Sanhedrin in Israel? Yeah, they're together again. Go Google Sanhedrin, and there is an active Sanhedrin currently in Israel. Thus, each festival listed in Leviticus 23 could not be set before the arrival of the month that it was to be held in. An example of this is Pesach, Passover, which is to be observed on the 14th day of Aviv, or Nisan. It would be impossible to state in the previous month, Adar, on which day of the week Pesach would fall, until the Sanhedrin declared which day began the month of Aviv. Likewise, once Aviv arrived, having been instituted by the Sanhedrin, from the visual sighting, it would be known by all on which day of the week that each festival within the month would fall. Of course, this scenario would have to be repeated. It goes on, and let me see here. What I want to read is this important part about Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Hashanah happens in Tishri. Rosh Hashanah, there it is, stands alone during Tishri, as well as the rest of the year. It's a special time. It stands alone, as being the only festival of which no man knew the day or the hour. Read that. No man knew the day or the hour. What does Matthew 24:36 says? But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So Rosh Hashanah, you'd have two priests, and they would, or two witnesses. They would be looking for a sliver of the new moon to kick off Rosh Hashanah. They wouldn't know when it would come. That slice of new moon could be spotted by them, and they would have to agree to seeing it to kick off that festival. And it would be over a 2-day period, 48-hour period, and so it was a festival literally where no man knew the day or the hour, and it was to be confirmed by two witnesses. Only festival of which no man knew the day or the hour. It could only be determined by decree from the court declaring the new moon had been spotted. So that's fascinating, isn't it? Rosh Hashanah, the festival feast where no man knows the day or the hour. It happens over a 2-day period, and it's a festival that kicks off a new year. Does a rapture event happen on Rosh Hashanah? I think it does. I think what it will come down to, my speculation, but Rosh Hashanah, at the midpoint of the 7-year period, it will be kicking off the new year, and that will be when the rapture event happens, and then the wrath of God, the last 3.5 years, the last portion, known as the Great Tribulation, that's when that will happen. We get taken out pre-wrath, before the wrath of God falls. Before that, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, all that, we are going to be around for, I do believe. If we are not, I am happy. I am ready to go now. I am ready to be raptured out. But as I read the scriptures, that's what I see it. Now, we'll end on this, which I've shown you before, and it's 10 things about Rosh Hashanah which are fascinating to read. Jewish names and themes for Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, Tishri 1. First day of the Jewish New Year in their civil calendar. It is the anniversary of creation of Adam and Eve. Also known as Yom Teruah. Day of Awakening Blast. Trumpet, maybe, right? Jewish belief is that the resurrection of the dead will occur on the Feast of Trumpets. The last trumpet. On this day, there are 100 trumpet blasts. The final, long, and most significant trumpet blast is called the last trump. Again, just fascinating stuff happening all around us in the scriptures. You connect all these things. I'm not a Jewish scholar, but if you follow Mark Biltz, for example, it's fascinating the sort of stuff that he presents. Zom Zikaron, Day of Remembrance, a day on which the chosen people remember God and God remembers them. Yom Hadin, the Day of Judgment. God opens the books on that day and judges the righteous and the wicked according to what they had done. Yom Hamelech, the day of the coronation of the king. The time of Jacob's trouble. There shall be great tribulation in Israel, such as never was since there was a nation. So this great idea of great tribulation, the last period, the last half of that 7-year period. Yom HaKaseh, the hidden day. Hidden because no man knows the day or the hour. It was hidden because they didn't know the exact day it would begin. Let me move that up. It would begin due to the fact that it was the only feast that starts on a new moon. Thus, it was a 2-day feast because they didn't want to celebrate it on the wrong day. Concerning Rosh Hashanah, the Jews would typically say, of that day and hour, no one knows. Matthew 24:36. Of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Number 9, the opening of the gates of heaven. The gate of heaven is opened on Rosh Hashanah, so that the righteous may enter. In the rapture of the church, we go to heaven, and we are always with God after that. Again, just prior to the Great Tribulation. And again, during the Great Tribulation, the wedding of the Messiah, the blowing of the heavenly trumpet is a call for the entire true bride of God to assemble together. Those who have chosen Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior. During that Great Tribulation, the wedding feast will be happening. So pretty fascinating stuff related to Rosh Hashanah and the Feast of Trumpets. I'm going to put a link to this article. I showed it before, but it has a whole bunch of interesting details, images, the hidden day, various gifts and things with the wedding feast, etc. Pretty fascinating stuff, guys. I'm going to leave there. Rosh Hashanah, a great watch period coming September 25th, 2022, in a couple of weeks here. I hope you're prepared. I hope you know the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. It could happen this year. I don't know. I could be wrong about the mid-tribulation or mid-7-year period rapture. Maybe it is pre-tribulation, and maybe we are just in that period prior to the kicking off of the 7-year period. And with the things happening in the world, who's to say that we aren't? Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you in the next video.